I started playing at Harvard Coaching Clinic. My father was the one who would take me every Sunday morning, 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the afternoon to coach that coaching clinic. And also at school, he never missed a match. He retired and he's always there, willing me on to, to keep going. And it's really sad when he passed away. I just got selected for the West Indies team, not in the final 11. It's back in 1989 against India.
Well, straight away he's hit a beautiful shot into the gap at mid-wicket. It's running away over the outfield into the fence for 4.
He came of age in Sydney just over a year ago with 277, marvellous run. And since then he's been developed to a more dependable player. He assesses situation and play accordingly. He play like a mature player.
The great thing about the Sydney innings was this, that the Australians did try variety at them. They tried bowling at off stump, they tried bowling at leg stump, and he answered all the questions, because when they bowled at leg stump, having tried bowling outside off stump for a while in typical Australian fashion, they then found that he could pick the gaps on the leg side just as well as he had done on the off side as well. That was the great thing about the innings.
That really is a beautiful shot. Played with so much ease.
He has the ability to place the ball, time the ball. When you find the gaps in the field, that's what helps you score quickly. You have your days, everyone has their days, of course, where you aim in the same directions and you keep finding fielders. There's only a minimal adjustment. But on a good day, you find the gaps, you find the boundary, and the scoreboard ticks over at a fair rate. And the only thing that he does sometimes, which we all tend to do as left-handers, is when he opens the face up and you aim, instead of aiming at covers left hand or at extra cover or at mid-off, you end up aiming at point. And that leaves the gully area as a potential problem. And if you hit it in the air down there, there's always that vague risk of being caught in the gully or caught at point. There are so many shots that the man can play. That's the great thing about him. He starts off, I mean, you look at Brian Lara and you think, well, his strong point is through the offside. Anything pitching on the stumps and moving towards the offside is where most of the runs come from. It's a standard delivery for most bowlers. So you have to be strong on that side. And if you bowl orthodox at him, then he will hit you through the offside very easily, off back foot, off front foot. He plays that forcing shot off the back foot so nicely.
Beautifully played, glorious stroke off the back foot. That's a class act.
Oh, and he's 250, but halfway.
There was always this feeling this was going to be a big innings because you just couldn't see him getting out. And in the end, you thought, well, the only way he's going to get out is by being run out, which is exactly what happened.
He's in trouble. Ah, he's back. He's gone. What a tragic end.
We started in the first test by bowling a normal left-hander's line off stump and just outside, and we found that anything with a slight bit of room he whacked through the covers. And for the rest of the series we really tried to bowl a little bit straighter at him, and we felt that restricted him a little bit more, but obviously come Antigua he'd found his own answers, and his 375 there was about the best things I've ever seen.
Walking out to bat, I try to get accustomed to the light and everything. There's still a lot of butterflies in my stomach. I want to get rid of the first ball and get things going. Try to assess the situation as soon as possible. I mean, a lot of times we might be under pressure. I tend to excel under pressure, as most batsmen do.
For a stroke maker, Brian Lara, any of the great stroke makers, they like the ball to come onto the bat a little bit quicker than it was in Antigua. And so the great thing he did first was take his time to adjust. And once he'd got the hang of it, once he'd adjusted, it was a classic case of playing yourself in properly, then he just adjusted the tempo from then on. And he was really one of the few men in that first couple of days to time the ball at all.
He's a very, very dedicated player. He's a good student. He knows the cricket. He knows his cricket and he knows opposition. And when you see him out there, you see how he assesses things when he's batting. He has the special quality of playing, picking gaps and, assess situation and play accordingly. I think he'll be a fine player, and I know for sure that the cricketing world will appreciate this type of play.
3 fours in the over, and Brian Lara is a light.
That'll do. An emphatic boundary to take him to his third Test 100.
I certainly felt that he was looking at a big score, and perhaps the biggest compliment to him is to say that it looked also inevitable. He made maybe 6 or 7 poor shots in 2.5 days, and for that length of time his concentration, technique was top class. I wasn't that frustrated because we bowled okay. The wicket was very flat, The bowlers bowled where I asked them to, and by the time at the end of the second day, when he needed 40 more to break the record, I think we all realised he was going to do it.
And there is 4 of them. That is a magnificent shot.
I got to 320. I passed Lawrence's score, I already passed Richard's score, and there's only one West Indian left, and that's Gary Silver's.
The real pressure came that final morning with what looked just a tantalising small amount of runs to get, where he knew that he was so close to the record. That's where the nerves started to show. That's where the mistakes started to come.
Oh, and that was so nearly the end for Brian Lara, so nearly the end of the dream.
So Brian Lara gets the 350.
As the target got closer and closer, I was obviously feeling for him because I'd known him for quite some time.
But those last few runs, it only takes one little mistake. It's a question of a couple of inches between the middle of the bat and the edge of the bat. And that's all it takes, that's all it needs to go wrong.
Beautiful cover drive, through for 4, 365. He's equalled Gary Sobers.
But as it was, I mean, the adrenaline was pumping. He got exactly the ball as it turned out that he wanted, and it was a hell of a shot.
He's gone for the pole, and there it is. Brian Lara's done it. The ball rockets into the boundary fence. The new world record holder is Brian Charles Lara of Trinidad and Tobago.
So Gary Age was his first 100. He most likely was trying to establish himself as a test cricketer, try to get recognized, and I was about the same. I wanted to be recognized. No one knew about me before this, and you know, as a young player, you don't just want to go to your career being just a mediocre cricketer. So I was quite happy to do it at such a young age.
I felt that once he got past 365 and broke Sobers' record, it was only a matter of time before he got out. The emotion of the occasion was overwhelming, particularly for him, but everybody else felt it as well. And I think we all felt that it had been slightly inhuman that he might have had a slight lapse of concentration on breaking that record.
Lara walks, it's all over, he's taken the edge, Haddock's got the wicket. Brian Lara is finally out for 375, Court Russell.
375 is a world record, but the situation of the series, our record at Sydney in Australia, you know, and the eventual outcome of the entire series, I think the 277 was of great importance, not only to myself, but to the team and to West Indian cricket. And I think I'd rate that very, very high. You know, 375 would not go a far second, would be very close. Weakness do pop up. If there's something outside the off stump, or if you weaken your body, or if you're driving the ball in the air using too much bottom hand, and you have to keep working every so often to correct something. It's never got a time that you're going to be all perfect. You know, I think something always pops up. It's happened to me.
He's a dedicated cricketer. He loves playing. That's the great thing about him. He loves to set high standards too. And now that he's got that record, I had a chat with him in Trinidad when we were on the tour there. And he said that every time he goes out to bat, he starts, one of his mental notes is he takes a little bit of a note of his average and says, right, the first target is to get to the average. And then I try and beat it, and then I try and get a really big score. And that's how he sets out every innings. But as long as Brian Lara is allowed to concentrate on his cricket, then he'll still succeed. I'm sure that's going to be the case.
I'm not going to lay back on my laurels and say, you know, score 375, that's it. I'm going to try to set my goals all over again, work towards achieving it. Of course, 375 would be great to achieve once more. When you get out on 375 and you have a bat or have a relax, you realize that if you got 25 more runs, you're going to be the only person ever scored 400 runs in Test cricket. And as I said, I just have to set my goals all over again and work towards it.
If you'd like to subscribe to Cover Point, then please ring us on 081 674 28